Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hawks back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quinville 2-on-1. Right with Carlson, Quinville scores!
Here's a chance for Barrett. Fighting scores! Off the face-off! Up it's Eminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it. Shoots one. Bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski. Another jam on the shot. Turning and firing. They go! Scores! They score! Now they catch each other. They both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McDermott gets the helmet off of Cassie.
And now with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Bear will score!
And here are your hosts, Cece and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
And State College, Pennsylvania.
Oh, happy Valley, happy Shawnee. Welcome to the Calder Farmstead Podcast, episode number 36 for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. If you were hoping for a podcast highlighting direct farmer-to-consumer sales, we are not going to be much help. This is an American Hockey League podcast, and my name is CC Hockley.
And I'm Sean O'Brien.
And as always, we thank you for tuning in with us.
And if you're new to hearing CC and I talk about hockey, we're going to recap the last weekend in the AHL for you. We both watch a lot of AHL games, and we're going to talk about what we see when we watch the film, as well as use some advanced stats to help us break that down from time to time. If that's new to you, you might want to head over to our podcast feed or YouTube channel, wherever you're listening to us from, and check out episode 0. If you scroll all the way to the bottom there, that's where it is. It's a short primer on some of the stats we're going to be talking about, as well as how we view what's important on the ice. So if you're newer to some of the more advanced hockey stats terms like PDO or the point shares model, or newer hockey terms like controlled zone entries, go check that out so you better be able to pick up what we're putting down. I promise it's not that nerdy or technical. It's only 20 minutes, and let's be honest, you wasted 20 minutes trying to figure out what betamethasone is, and if your bet on essential quality to show could still get paid. You'll never get that time back. So next time, why not spend a little more time with us talking hockey?
I don't think that's real, what you just said. I think you just made that
very real.
I think you just made that up off the top of your head. No, I'll have to check it out. All right. Well, hey, before we get started, okay, it is official. We talked about it last episode, but now it has been approved by the AHL. The AHL Communications Twitter put it out even before the team announced it. The nonsensical Bridgeport Islanders are now a thing. And if I may, that is their new logo, and those are their new jerseys. Oh, let's just copy and paste, shall we? My goodness. Yeah. So unlike a franchise move where Los Angeles isn't known for their lakes or Utah isn't known for their jazz music, little NBA nods there, this rebranding simply plays into the parent club or Lou Lamoriello's desire for uniformity amongst NHL and AHL teams. Once again, an astute observation from Sean from last episode. Connecticut is landlocked. The New York Islanders play at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. They are also landlocked. So, hey, I guess, felt a little unity, a little camaraderie in regards to an NHL and an AHL team calling themselves the Islanders, even though they're landlocked currently.
I mean, it's dumb. And I think more on top of it being dumb is that they got ratioed hard. Everyone is like, I think I only saw 3 or 4 people who were like, no, it's fine, really, guys. Everyone else is just like getting in line to take a swing at how stupid this was, which for the record, it is. And I'm behind that. But like, it was amazing how many people just hated the crap out of this. And for good reason too, because it's you dragged this on for so long trying to build mystery when there was none. You already showed us the logo. It's exactly what you showed us today.
Right.
And B, like your team store that you had all of this time, because they had that Twitter account bookmarked since January. So they've been planning this for a while. And the only merchandise you had available in your brand new team store is a trucker hat, a pullover, and a polo shirt, and that's it. And they're not very good. So that's not great. You also just decided to airmail the like 20,000 followers you had on social media across Twitter and Instagram so that you could get a brand new account. So it's like, I mean, that can't help your front office advertising because now it's like your social media reach is, back at zero. That was stupid.
Well, and I get the fact that maybe they claimed that. I mean, you said that at AHL Islanders is their new Twitter handle. And like you said, they literally made a brand new Twitter handle. They didn't change the existing one that had over 20,000, Twitter followers. They made a brand new damn account. And yeah, I'm like, you're rebooting, but you're going to alienate your whole fan base by just basically starting from scratch. And I mean, I checked an hour before because you inquired about it. 660 followers so far today. Like I get the fact that maybe you wanted to keep that from January, but like, just switch it over real quick. Like, I don't understand why you didn't just change the Sound Tigers to AHL Islanders on your existing Twitter account that you've had for a number of years, ever since Twitter came about. It's like, yeah, a lot of this is just a head scratching, extravaganza for me. I've got a dry patch on my scalp from scratching my head so much trying to figure this all out. It's just
doesn't make a lot of sense. Like,
it doesn't. And
especially too, because you realize that like fans are upset about this change and they might not follow the new Twitter account immediately. Right. And by the time they, come around on like, all right, whatever, it's still hockey in Bridgeport and I'm going to support it. They might have missed important announcements because you changed your Twitter account and they didn't follow it initially because they were mad. So dumb.
And Sean, to kind of wrap this up, unless you have other points, then feel free to add to it. But you mentioned just the general consensus you're seeing on social media that fans are not liking this change, both the nickname and the logo. I decided to put out a little poll this morning when it was made official at 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern. So I asked, okay, hockey fans, what do we think of the Bridgeport Islanders' new nickname and logo? As of 6 p.m. Mountain on Monday, as we're recording this, 5.9% like the new name and logo, 5.9% like the new nickname, 15.7% like the new logo, which I thought was kind of surprising, and 72.5% don't like either of them out of 51 total votes in about 8-hour span. So a decent sample size that 3/4 of your fan base, well, not even the fan base, but the hockey world in general, almost 3/4 don't like either.
And I'd say that percentage is low based on what I saw from across fan pages and Reddit and Facebook and Twitter, people responding like you were hard pressed to find someone who was anything above lukewarm. Like most people hated it.
Yeah.
And nobody made you do this. It's not like you were relocating or something like that. Like when the Portland Pirates left to become a different team, I didn't expect them to take the Twitter account with them because that wouldn't make sense. The people who followed you were in a different city. But like, that's not what happened here. And your merchandise wasn't ready for this big launch that you've spent months preparing. And people hate it.
Yeah, it's not you see these ghost Twitter accounts, the ECHL's Manchester Monarchs, the San Antonio Rampage of the AHL, it's like you see, and Binghamton's probably going to be the same way. You see these accounts that have fallen by the wayside and they're just kind of existing in the Twitterverse. But yeah, this is not the scenario for it. So again, I don't get it, but anyway, that's really all I have to say about it is that the general consensus is, yeah, Bridgeport Islanders, rebranded team for next season, and their logo kind of lackluster. But anyway, shall we get to the weekend recapping the weekend that was?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. First and foremost, we're going to go to the North Division and talk about the Hershey Bears. They played Binghamton. Speaking of the Devils, Friday, May 7th at 7 p.m., then they played Lehigh Valley at home Saturday, May 8th at 4 p.m. I said, Friday, do you even have to ask? I'm not even going to pick Binghamton until, for the rest of their existence. I said Hershey and then Lehigh Valley on Saturday. Sean, you said Hershey on Friday. It felt kind of like a trap game for a bingo win, but you still picked Hershey. And then you also picked Hershey on Saturday as well. The model went with you. Hershey 61.7% on Friday, 56.6% on Saturday. And the results, Sean, congratulations, my friend. You picked a Hershey sweep. You got a Hershey sweep. Bears over Bingo 2-1 on Friday. Hershey with the shutout over Lehigh Valley 3-0 on Saturday. A weekend sweep, one in which they were shorthanded and played defensemen Will Grabber and Eddie Wachow at forward during parts of the weekend. And forgive me if I butchered those names. Despite that, they came out with 2 wins in 2 weekend games. Let's start on Friday against Bingo. Sean, what did you think of Friday's performance against the soon-to-be Utica Comets?
My fears of it being a trap game very much felt alive and well.
Sure.
Having seen this game, because Hershey looked kind of bad in the opening 2 periods on Friday. Now, that isn't to say that the Devils looked good per se, but at least less flat. This was a real ugly game. Not a lot of offensive outputs. The AHL.com shot tracker has 2 total shots from the inner slot in this entire game. But they also have McMichael's goal location is about 8 feet off from where it actually was. So
yeah,
grains of salt, but still like 2 total combined shots from the inner slot is not a good look for a game. And like I said, I thought Hershey, didn't play very well. They simply kind of just played well enough to not get, torched. And then they got some good breaks. But yeah. And I also, the shot tracker analysis, like I said, McMichael's goal location, 8 feet from where it actually was. Like they had him almost outside the circles. And I believe he was a lot closer than that. But having seen data analysis in the NHL level about stat recording bias in New Jersey, plus Rachel Dory's story about New Jersey stat trackers counting Skittles instead of watching the game they were supposed to be logging stats for, that's a real thing. Like she's told that story on the Staff and Graph podcast a few times, where she came into the New Jersey Devils stat tracker office and they were counting Skittles instead of counting shots on goal and faceoff wins. So regardless, still an ugly low event game. Both sides not doing much anything kind of game. I don't really have a lot of good analysis for it because it really was as a whole a lot of dump and chase. Defense recovers, gets the puck to the neutral zone, dumps and chases, rinse and repeat. So at least from the Binghamton perspective, like them getting the puck out of their zone and not getting hemmed in and, turning pucks over under pressure throughout the entire game, that was an improvement. But from Hershey's perspective, they looked flat. They looked flat the whole game. Like they were kind of going through the motions and got a couple good bounces. But I thought Hunter Shepard played pretty well in this game. And had that not been the case, I could have seen Bingo pulling out what I said of it being a trap game. Also, it was a game featuring Hershey playing defense at forward. Although Will Graber played forward at Dartmouth, Hershey also, there are some excuses in the cupboard there that are reasonable. No Brian Pino, no Cody Clark, a couple other injuries on their side. And also on Binghamton's side, no Ben Street, no Nolan Foote. They have a bunch of other guys that are getting called up. Addition by subtraction, Kevin Ball isn't there. Brent Senny clocked in at a 5 out of 10 for carrying in this game, which is high for him for the season, but still not that great. So the fact that, both sides are missing some of their better pieces, and we saw the game that we did, that tracks. I will say the Bears penalty kill looked really good in this game. Bingo got really nowhere on any of their power play attempts. And that's been the one thing they've at least managed to have down from a tactical and execution standpoint is their power play. But it generated really nothing at all. The Bears did a good job of keeping them at bay, keeping them outside, not giving them easy zone entries. So that was one positive for Hershey I could take away from what was just a snooze fest of a game, to be honest. I'm really glad that I only had to watch that once.
Yeah, burn the tape. Never again. All right. Well, we go from a 2-1 snooze fest on Friday to a 3-0 shutout on Saturday. Surely that looked not so ugly for a Bears win.
It was another slow start for the Bears. Very much the same tired, kind of going through the motions team from Friday and bingo for the first period against Lehigh Valley. They got it going in the second. Some defensive breakdowns in the second, but also some offensive surges in the second. And then the third period, it was all Hershey. They dominated possession in the third period. But the story of Saturday's game is Phoenix Copley. And he's had a serviceable, but very much not a great season, or even probably a very good one from him by his standards. And he's been outshined at times by Zach Vicali, which, I mean, if you'd have told me that in January, I'd have laughed at you. But here we are. But make no mistake about it, Hershey won Saturday's game because of Phoenix Copley, period. He bailed them out quite a few times in which they had defensive breakdowns, especially that Cameron Schilling, Eddie Wichow pairing. That pairing needs to go. They were, in no uncertain terms, bad in this game. And I don't necessarily think either of them need, like, that they shouldn't be put on the ice together, but also I would be completely okay with not seeing Eddie Wichow the rest of the season in Hershey. I really haven't seen anything of value from him from the tape I've seen. He's just not that good. And that's okay. There is, a limited pool for the ECHL players to go to this year, the taxi squads. Mm-hmm. But he very much looks like a guy who's over his head in terms of playing talent pool. And pairing him with Schilling, who I think is a good defenseman, but definitely lacks for defensive strength. The two of them together, they definitely had some bad moments, some bad turnovers. But Phoenix Copley was there and brought his A game and made some huge stops for Hershey in another game that I very easily, like a weekend sweep of, like this, you wouldn't think was so close to being a sweep of the other way. But this really felt like these were two games that Hershey was like, we're happy that we were, able to grind it out and pull out 2 W's, but we're not proud of the way we played these games.
Yeah. I mean, a win's a win, but how you get there obviously is a little concerning for sure this past weekend. And
I think there's some credit to Spencer Carberry too, of getting, squeezing the most out of his team that very clearly just looked tired. And sure. We're seeing this across the league kind of right now, where teams are having to play defenseman at forward. We're going to talk about that in the next series we cover and the one after that. So we're definitely starting to see that fatigue of this gong show of a season where we're playing a dumb number of games down the stretch to, squeeze in by the, next week or the week after, whatever it is, whatever the drop dead day is for the season. And it's really starting to just, players are breaking down physically. I'm sure probably a few of them are just mentally, they have already decided, like, it may not be, change my Twitter account to a margarita picture, like your Bob McKenzie in July, but they're, they have that picture saved on the desktop. They're ready for the first day of after exit interviews. And credit to Spencer Carberry for, making sure he wrings the towel and gets every last drop of that out of them. Because that definitely is what it felt like this week. And I don't say credit to Spencer Carberry that often. So a credit to him.
Well, any closing thoughts on the weekend? Anything additional that you'd like to add regarding the Hershey Bears?
2 quick things. Hershey had some call-ups where they basically, in essence, made a trade with the Capitals where they sent Ferravari and Maillet for Scarbosa and Paul Ledoux. I think this is, in trade terms, a good trade for Hershey. I like Maillet a lot. I like Scarbosa a lot. They are not the same forward. They don't play the same game, but in terms of comparable offensive production that you're going to get out of them, I'd say they're pretty close to equal. I think Maillet's a little better, but Scarbosa certainly more than capable of filling in Maillet's shoes. I think the biggest part of this is I don't have to see Martin Ferravari on the power play anymore. And Paul Ledoux actually can contribute on the power play, whereas Ferravari, in all of his career games and all of his shot attempts on the power play from the point, he has still not scored on any of them. Wow. Mostly because he's not a good shot and he keeps shooting. So at least that will be something going forward that I think is a positive, some addition by subtraction. Also, big congrats to Matt Molson, 700th professional point in this game, a secondary assist that I definitely rewatched a couple times, and I'm like, are they sure he got that? No, he got it. He did. I don't know how much longer Matt Molson plans on keeping going at it. He definitely still has something left in the tank, but he very much plays an older guy kind of game at this point, which I don't think there's anything wrong with this. He is an older guy, but I still think he brings a lot to the ice and very clearly is bringing a lot to the off-ice areas as well, hearing teammates talk about him in that uniformity and going out of their way to give him praise. You don't see that for guys who are assholes.
No.
So whenever he decides to, keep it going, I can't imagine a world in which he gets to 800. So this is probably the last big milestone for him, but enjoy it while it lasts, Hershey, because those days they're becoming numbered coming up here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of Hershey, they still have the division lead in the North. These guys are still playing for the division crown over there in the North Division. So Hershey, 0.742 points percentage. They've got 2 games left. May 15th versus Binghamton. So they're hosting Binghamton. And May 16th versus Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Their last 2 games are at home. And second place, Lehigh Valley, 0.627 points percentage. They've got 3 games left. May 12th at Binghamton, May 15th versus Wilkes-Barre Scranton, and May 16th versus Binghamton. So 2 of their last 3 games are against last place Binghamton. That's got to bode well for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And then in third place, kind of an outlier, maybe a little bit of a, they're going to have Hershey and Lehigh Valley lose those games because they're not playing each other. So that could work out. Tonight, as we're recording, they are playing Utica, and they are currently losing. At 3-1, Syracuse shut out by Utica, 3-0, unofficial final. As it ticked down right as I was saying that, the timing could not have been more perfect. So Syracuse probably eliminated from the North Division title picture with that loss against the Utica Comets. So you've got Hershey, you've got Lehigh Valley. We'll see how it works out for both of them. And I can't do points percentage tabulation on the fly, so don't ask me. So don't ask, as Nick Saban once so eloquently put it. I'm not going to answer, so don't ask. All right. Well, hey, if this is your jumping off point as a listener and as a Hershey Bears fan, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from, and check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Apart from the episodes, we also post some pretty good AHL memes and some other stuff as well. Some graphs, some charts, and remember, it's only a model. We do post model stuff as well. So again, whatever audio platform you listen to, give us a subscribe, give us a rating. 5 stars would be most beneficial. And if you're listening on YouTube, like this episode and subscribe. We're going to take a real quick break before we head back over to the Central Division. And we've got to eat some crow because we, once again, were off on this one. Holy crow. No pun intended. We'll be right back. From the North to the Central, let's talk Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins. Friday, May 7th, 7 p.m. at Grand Rapids. Saturday, May 8th, 7 p.m. at Chicago, Rosemont, Illinois, to be more precise. I picked Grand Rapids on Friday. Figured they'd take one in Chicago on Saturday because of that home cooking. Smell that sizzle. I guess you can smell sizzle, sure. But Sean picked a Chicago Wolves sweep, going with the model giving Chicago ever the slightest benefit there, 54.1% on Friday, that extra 0.5 percentage bump for the home cooking on Saturday, 54.6%. And the results, boy, we were off because Grand Rapids sweeping the weekend. The Griffins, 5-4 victory on Friday, 3-1 victory on Saturday. Sean, a very unevenly paced game on Friday with a wild first and third period, sandwiching a rather tame second period. I believe the term you used to describe the first and the third was wild ass. So let's break that down a little bit. What did you see on Friday's game that made such a wild ass first and third period?
Oh, my guess is that Ben Simon had some words for his forwards about getting caught in transition, because after the first period, the Griffins locked it down in terms of not giving up odd man rushes and regularly outnumbered the Wolves trying to enter the zone. But that first period was just back and forth chances, a lot of just open track meet style hockey, which I'm a huge fan of as both tactically. I think it's a sound approach, and from a fan perspective, because it's fun to watch. That being said, we've been saying all season, the Wolves are a rush-based team. If you can limit their opportunities to get odd man rushes, defend your blue line well, you have a good shot at winning against the Wolves, because they're just not set up to score, playing dump and chase or to grind the cycle all that well. And that's more or less what we saw here. We saw, after the first period, in which they had quite a few opportunities, we saw Grand Rapids really play a lot more responsibly through the neutral zone, try and basically just put as many bodies in the neutral zone to deter Chicago from trying to get controlled zone entries or make odd man rushes. And that's what happened. They managed to really kind of limit Chicago's offense that way. The Wolves' penalty kill has been a weakness of this team all season, but I do have to give them credit for coming up clutch in the third, blocking 4 shots on goal during 1 2-minute power play. 3 of which were from Riley Barber alone. But make no mistake, from Grand Rapids side, Riley Barber carried this team to a W on Friday, especially after David Gust gifts him a shooting lane with some lazy defensive posture so he can whip home that game-winning goal as I think there were 13 seconds left on the clock. Yeah.
Yep.
You can't do that against trying to play defense against Riley Barber. Power play for the Wolves, also their usual. Phil Tomasino has seemed to really find that shot from the right half wall. He's gotten that catch and release down pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised that they keep stationing him over there. I would have thought he would want to one-time pucks from the left wall like he's Ovechkin in the AHL. But he's done a really good job with that catch and release. And he's still a pretty good playmaking threat from over there too. But we'll see if that carries over to how his NHL team wants to use him. I could see it going either way at this point, but it is interesting to see that they've gotten good use out of him from that spot.
Now shifting over to Grand Rapids, talking about some of their up-and-comers. Jared Mcisac, he's finally gotten some games under his belt this season. He's been kind of a under-the-radar prospect for the Red Wings. They've hyped guys more like Moritz Seider and Joe Villano, but what did you see from Mcisac this weekend that kind of set him apart from those other 2 guys I mentioned?
Setting him apart from Moritz Seider is going to be hard, because Moritz Seider is when you get I won't say overdrafted, but like he was a surprise pick that the Wings took that high. And I believe he just won Defensive Player of the Year or Player of the Year in the SHL. And he's been posting just highlight reel Cronwall style hits. So he plays a more exciting, GIF highlight reel kind of game. So that's always going to build hype, period. Sure. Not that I don't think Moritz Seider is going to probably pan out better than Mcisac, but anyway, from Mcisac this weekend, I saw a lot of really sharp defensive play, good puck moving. There's definitely still some indications that he's coming back from injuries. He's shaking off some rust. He's getting up to speed, but a lot of very sound fundamentals. And that's kind of what I've always thought of Mcisac is he doesn't really have anything that I point to and say that's an elite skill. And I think his skating is probably his biggest strength, but it's not what I would call an elite skating, but it's NHL caliber for sure. But he checks so many boxes, and he made a bunch of small plays that don't go up on the score sheet, making pass breakups on the defensive end, getting his stick on passes going across Royal Road, intercepting pucks, making good zone exits. One very large gamble late in the third, trying to hold the puck in the zone that paid off, but if I were him, if I were Ben Simon, I would be having some words with him when he came to the bench after that move. But I've liked what I've seen from Mcisac. He's maybe not the most responsible and likes to take some gambles with the puck, but they're measured ones, I think. And he usually comes out ahead on them, which is what you hope for. You can't have a number 1 defenseman in either this league or the NHL and not have them, take some chances, make some stretch passes, like make some mistakes, make some misreads. That's the nature of, doing that. Like telling a puck moving defenseman like Chris Letang, hey, don't make turnovers, don't make mistakes. And then you're just going to see his, assists and offensive contributions tumble. Like, you can't do that to Mcisac either. He's a guy who's going to take chances, but that's what separates him, is his ability to connect on those at a level that others won't. But I liked what I saw from Mcisac this weekend, and I think he's probably due for another year in Grand Rapids next year. I don't expect that he's going to make the Red Wings out of camp, but then I can also see the Red Wings not having enough NHL players, and he just gets a roster spot kind of by default because, well, have you seen the Red Wings? But he's someone who I think has a bright future ahead of him.
Let's talk about Saturday's more decisive game for Grand Rapids. Like I mentioned earlier, 3-1 victory. David Gust and Max LaJoie out for this game. Wolves dressed defenseman Brandon Hickey as a forward, like you mentioned in the Hershey Bears North Division breakdown we did earlier in this episode. That has been happening more frequently this season. And that usually doesn't tend to go well either, to try and make these guys utility guys to play both positions. Yeah, doesn't usually work out well. Sean, what did you see here?
It's funny. I just thought of this. I would be curious to, have someone else look this up because I don't want to crunch the numbers. What do you think there's been more of? Defensemen who have played games at forward in this league, or canceled games due to COVID? Or postponed games due to COVID? Because I think it's probably pretty close.
Yeah, because you've heard about it a lot this season about players having to switch positions, and obviously games being postponed or flat out canceled because of COVID-19 protocols and out of an abundance of caution. So I would agree with you. I'd say it's probably pretty even.
But regardless,
sure.
Let's get in here. So David Gust was kind of a surprise sit out for this one. Max LaJoie, I kind of expected because he was one who I'm pretty sure took 2 of those 3 Barber blocks right on the ankle in that penalty kill. And it's one thing to get hit in the ankle, which sucks, from one wrist shot, but then like 12 seconds later to take another one off what looked like the exact same spot. Yep, you're missing the next game. Your ankle's the size of a softball. But Gust, I wasn't sure if he was hurt or what was going on there, or if it was a spite bench because of his poor play at the end of the game that cost them the game. But he was on the ice at the end of the game, so I have to imagine he was healthy, and nothing happened in the last 30 seconds of the game that would have given me reason for him not to be in. But we're getting down speculation. Yeah. As far as what I saw from this game, that first goal for Grand Rapids, that's a backbreaker for Chicago right off the bat. Huge miss-slashing call on Hayden Verbeek on Jamison Reese, just chops the stick right out of his hands, and he chops McElrath's out of McElrath's hands. He managed to knock 2 dudes' sticks out with 1 chop, which, don't get me wrong, that's actually kind of impressive in your ability to still not draw a penalty doing it, which is terrible. But this game was not reffed well from beginning to end. I saw missed calls on Chris Colo, McElrath, too many men penalty on Chicago that was just blatant that got missed. A hit from behind on Lard that didn't get called. It was not a well-reffed game to begin with. But Hayden Verbeek's assist on that first goal was good from a hockey playing level. It was a very nice pass to Patrick Curry, although Joey Keane's defending there and just managing to lose his guy in the slot for a couple seconds is not good. Spoiler, you can't lose your check in the inner slot for even a second in professional hockey and not expect it to end up in center ice faceoffs. He has offensive upside. Keane does for sure. And that's why he just got called up. But some of his in-tight defensive play throughout the series definitely concerned me. But that goal, that hurts a lot to see, what should have been a power play for your team, completely turn into a goal against. But Grand Rapids won this game because they won the first period on Saturday. And we talked about how important that was. Although Antoine Bibeau absolutely kept Chicago in this game, Grand Rapids went full on playing prevent defense the entire third period in a way that was at least more respectable, because a lot of teams will basically just shrink and try and, defend the inner slot, and that's it. They'll let you have zone entries. They won't try any offense. But Grand Rapids went with the more, we're going to turn the neutral zone into sludge and do the shrinking prevent defense, which I hate. I think it's boring. I respect the effectiveness of it, and I understand, you play to win the game, but
Hello.
yeah, it's it's so difficult to watch too. But Chicago at least tried to scratch and claw their way back into this one. They had a fair number of good chances. Jamison Reese's boarding penalty at the end, though, is an absolute game killer. Like, that's one where if you're Brian Warsofsky and he gets back to the bench, you and him are having some words, because that was unnecessary, stupid, preventable, and killed the game. That was a penalty with like 3 minutes left in a game. You're down by 2. You had the goalie pulled, I believe, at that point, and now you have to go try and kill a penalty. Why? Why did you do that, Jamison Reese? That's just that's one of those. And Reese has kind of struggled with this all year, of like picking moments to be more physical, to engage after the whistle, because that's who he is, and that's fine. I completely understand that, but like, you have to know when to rein that in, and that was a moment in which he did not. Also, we do have a goalie pool 6-pack challenge update. Ryan Warsofsky, I believe, claims his second of the season. Initial goalie pool down by 2 with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left, which is right on the line.
Right.
But it was the first opportunity he realistically got once crossing that threshold, and he got him out. He got Bebo out. The one thing I will say, though, that I thought was a strange choice, I should say. So they go 6 on 4. They go 6 on 5. Reese takes the penalty. They pull Bebo again once they get an opportunity and go basically 5 on 5. But they use 3 forwards and 2D for that 5 on 5 instead of 4 forwards or 5 forwards. Like, your net is empty at the other end. What are your defensemen
at that point? Yeah.
Yeah, like, you put Joey Keane and David Warsofsky, so like, you're 2 offensive defensemen out there. But like, I don't know, maybe the rest of their, like, I want to say useful offensive forwards, but like, their top 6 guys were tired, and that's why you have those 2 guys at the end of the game. But I thought it was a strange choice, but not one that I'm going to harp on too much of them for.
Fair enough. Well, we're getting towards the end here. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to put a bow on regarding Chicago and Grand Rapids from this past weekend?
I will say one of the things that really stuck out to me this weekend series was how much David Warsofsky's skating has really deteriorated. There were quite a few times this weekend he just got flat beat in foot races to the outside, and the forward turned a corner on him. And then he started to try and overcompensate for that by kind of like cheating inside with a couple steps, and gets absolutely dragged by Chris Cuolo and then by Hirose. Luckily, his defensive partner, Fitzgerald, and then Josh Healy were there to bail him out. But like, he was very close to being a SportsCenter highlight a couple of times. And he flat loses a foot race to Hirose on the power play, where they're just in a straight foot race and Hirose beats him by like 2 steps. And Warsofsky's getting up there in age, so this is maybe something that was always going to happen. And maybe, I haven't just, this is the first time I'm catching it this season, and this has been going on for a while, but like, I don't remember him being that exposed for foot speed when he was in Wilkes-Barre Scranton last season. So maybe this is something that's just really come on strong this year, or maybe I've just missed it up until now. Both are very possible, but it was definitely there this weekend, and man, did he not look good. Second thing is, I am, of all of the like struggling broadcasts and stuff like that, the one I will be the most glad that is over is the Chicago Wolves, for the very simple reason of watching their home games through the netting at the Tripan Center Ice Arena is not great. The camera angle, very not good. Saturday's game looked like half the lights in the arena were off. And I spot them a lot of points because, I know that's probably the best they can do given their situation. This is a practice rink and not meant for this. And part of me sympathizes with that. At the same point, though, there are definitely other teams in their practice rinks or in, community rinks and practice facilities. And if this is Chicago's best, I just want to point out their best kind of sucks.
Ouch.
And I also imagine the netting obstructs the view of more than just me, sitting there watching TV, trying to feel like I'm watching the Zapruder film to see who got that assist or where that stick was in the lane or not. As the shots on goal counter did a terrible job in this game. The third period alone, I actually looked at the score sheet before I turned on the third period and saw that it was 5 shots to 3. And I'm like, I don't believe that. So I actually tracked it myself, and it was 9 shots to 3 Chicago in that period.
Jeez.
There were a whole 4 that they missed completely. And one of the 3 that they counted for Grand Rapids was incorrect, and then they missed another. So, yeah.
And we've talked about that. Teams playing in practice facilities. And I mentioned at the top of this segment, Rosemont, Illinois, but they're actually playing out of a different Chicago suburbs over there in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Like you said, the Tripan Center. And yeah, just these arenas that are made for practice. We're talking about practice. And it's not, the lighting probably sucks. I mean, you mentioned it. The lighting did suck. It looked like half of the lights were turned out in the arenas, or in the arena rather. And it's probably the case in a lot of different arenas is what I was going to say. But yeah, well, hopefully, can't end soon enough for the Wolves, can't end soon enough for a lot of the California teams playing out of practice facilities. And Sean, it looked like you had another point to add.
I was going to say, I understand, they're kind of just, they have to go with whatever they have to work with. I don't understand the netting, though. That's the weird one for me, where I'm like, no other team has netting that covers the stands that, no one's in. Who are you, it's such an obstruction and really interferes with your ability to kind of watch the game on a basic level. And, Ontario's playing out of their practice facility. Providence is playing out of a practice facility. Yeah. Binghamton is filming games from a scissor lift.
Oh my God.
They have 2 dudes on a scissor lift with 2 cameras. That's how they're filming the game. And they're so much better. They are so much better than what Chicago's AHL TV has been this year. So like I said, I understand there are some limits of what they're able to do, but their best really sucks.
Well, let's talk about the Central Division at large before we move on. Chicago currently still in first place. They've had I don't want to say a tight grip because it's been loosening over the past few weeks, but they are still in first place in the Central with a .683 points percentage. That's how we're going by things this year. And then Cleveland nipping at their heels with a .635 points percentage. Grand Rapids, I don't think they really have a chance unless they win out, and Cleveland, well, they're going to win out if they beat Cleveland because they're playing them 3 times at the end. I'll get to that here in a second. But Chicago, their last 3 games, May 12th at Grand Rapids, May 14th at Rockford, May 15th versus Rockford. Kind of a favorable draw there at the end when you play the last place Rockford Ice Hogs, the Chicago Wolves, or maybe they might be trap games. Got to be careful. Grand Rapids, like I said, versus Cleveland. That's going to be Cleveland's last 3 games. So May 11th at Cleveland, and then you throw in the Wolves on May 12th for Grand Rapids. And then you have Grand Rapids at Cleveland on May 14th, Grand Rapids versus Cleveland on May 15th. So if Grand Rapids wins out and Chicago loses out, they might have a chance, but Cleveland, really the one that could push Chicago out of that first place to get the Central Division crown. We will keep tabs on that. And I did want to say, Elaine Shercliffe, AHL Central Division correspondent for Full Press Hockey, is keeping a running tab on this. So keeping a tab on Chicago Wolves magic number, which is neither of our strengths, but she's doing it, and she's doing it very well, keeping track on that. So go over to Full Press Hockey, keep an eye on that article, keep it bookmarked for these remaining 3 or 4 games, and Elaine will have you covered and will let you know when a Central Division champion has been crowned. So with all of that said, let me take a breath. And if you're a jumping off point, if this is your jumping off point, being a Chicago Wolves fan or a Grand Rapids Griffins fan, thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Please subscribe and rate our podcast if you're listening on any audio platform. If you're listening, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe, follow us on those social media accounts. It's not just, podcast episodes. Sorry, focusing on games got me talking about it. So it's not just podcast episodes. We're advertising on those platforms. We've got some pretty good AHL memes. We posted a pretty good one about Tucson being Jekyll and Hyde. Spin the wheel. Where are you going to land on? That's kind of what we talked about today, or at least in our meme. So anyway, I say all that to say, give us a like, a subscribe, a follow in whatever platform you're viewing or listening to us on, or I should say. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to jump over the Pacific Division again and talk about those San Diego Gulls. We'll be right back. One last series to cover before we jump into the cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. Feeling the macho madness already. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk about San Diego. Sorry. Don't mean to channel Macho Man quite yet. So got a little excited there. But yes, San Diego Gulls, they played two different teams this weekend, as you're ought to do there in California in the Pacific Division. Friday, May 7th, 7 p.m. versus Ontario. Saturday, May 8th. 7 p.m. at Bakersfield. I picked Ontario on Friday, Bakersfield on Saturday. Sean picked Ontario on Friday, San Diego on Saturday. The Model picked San Diego, 53.5% favorite on Friday. Bakersfield, 57.4% favorite on Saturday. And the results, Sean, hurrah, huzzah, once again, you are the picker man because you picked the correct thing for both games. Ontario 7-4 victory over San Diego. Goals, and more goals for the Reign and the Gulls. San Diego taking the victory over Bakersfield, over the Kingslayer, 4-1. The Gulls pull it off. Two games against two very different opponents with two very different results. Let's start with Friday, of course, versus the Ontario Reign. This score sheet says the Black and Silver Bandits ran pretty rampant over the Gulls. I mean, you put up a 7 spot on somebody, that's kind of running roughshod over him. Did the video tell that tale as well?
I mean, my analysis from the preview episode where I said, I think San Diego is still going to struggle giving up rush chances. I think Villalta starts and is more than capable of, sneaking a game out of there with his athletic play style if he's on. Yeah, nailed that. We talked in the preview all about defending rush chances, skating hard, back checking. The Gulls did not do any of that in this game, really. Their defensemen made bad decisions in the neutral zone, trying to jump up and give, pressure on forwards, intercept passes, or make plays that they were just late at. They got burned. They gave up odd man rushes or a breakaway the other way. We had forwards not hustling to get back. I mean, that 5th goal for the Reign, Dosty, DeLeo, and Podorowski just go unplugged controller on the back check instead of picking up the trailer, which was Adam Johnson, who scored the goal. 4 of the first 5 Reign goals are on the rush. The only real offensive kind of chances that were generated by San Diego in the entire first period were during a pretty good flurry where they, had a shot on goal, had some rebound chances, and they were getting shots on goal in the first period and throughout the game, but they weren't generating really dangerous chances. To give you an example, end of 2 periods, shots are 31-21 for Ontario, but shots from the home plate area are 9-4. So both teams taking some outside shots, but you combine that with the rush chances that Ontario was generating that San Diego wasn't. It was very much a one-sided kind of, like you said, a one-sided, what was the word you used? They ran pretty rampant over the Gulls. Yeah. That was pretty accurate through 2 periods. I mean, the Gulls are able to get going here in the second and start to take control of the flow of the game a little bit. They did better in the third, but at that point it was 3-0, 4-1. Those are not the moments in which you needed to wake up. Those happened earlier. That this game, by the time that the Gulls kind of got going, was, I don't want to say over, but very difficult, very low percentage to try and make a comeback in. I do have respect for Coach Kevin Dineen, though, as he's down in this game and he puts his top 2 lines in a blender, double shifts them. DeLeo and Limoges make it interesting as the Reign very much took their foot off the gas in the third period as they decided, well, we've scored enough goals, whatever. But it really was too little too late. I don't put this game on Eriksson Ek, whereas I think he could have been better for sure. It would have been nice if he came up with some of those big saves, but the defense and the forward core really just left him out to dry. And that's where the fate of this game falls. It falls a lot on forwards half-assing back checking and just being sloppy in the neutral zone, defensemen making bad choices, trying to jump up in the play when they shouldn't have. And Ontario struggled with consistency at times this season, but they certainly had to seize moments when the other team is just trying to give them grade A scoring chances. And that's very much the story of this game is San Diego kept making bad choices, not back checking, very much looked like they weren't quite ready out of the gate. Ontario picked up those chances and buried them. And by the time San Diego decided they wanted to show up and play, it was 3-0.
I mean, like we talked about a couple weeks ago when the Reign visited, the Colorado Eagles, and the Reign took all three of those games, the Wednesday, Friday, Saturday set. Colorado gave them those chances, and the defense didn't clamp down on them. And the Reign, with their speed, and when you give them that opportunity on those rush chances, like you talked about, then it's gonna come to bite the opposing team in the ass, because goals are gonna get, they're gonna make those railroad passes. They're gonna make those rush chances count. And obviously it bit San Diego on that Friday night, but Saturday they came out looking better. A 4-1 victory over the Kingslayer, over Bakersfield, who's, the Condors tires you pumped on Twitter this very morning. So what happened on Saturday for the Gulls to get this W?
Well, for starters, both teams go 11 forward, 7D, and the Gulls have Alex Dostie out. Keegan Kanzig is in. Anytime you're forced to put Keegan Kanzig into ice time, it's not very good, as he's barely a useful ECHL player. But the Gulls get caught quite a few times in this weekend with very telegraphed passes in the offensive zone from their wingers during the cycle up to boards in the point quite a few times. Both the Reign and the Condors jumped on these passes, took a good rush chance the other way. But the story of this game very simply boils down to goaltending. The first Gulls goal is a moonshine special. Rebound put into a high danger area plus bad lateral movement equals 1-0 Gulls. Devane's goal is another moonshine special. I don't know why Stuart Skinner seemed unable to make a clean glove save in this game. But he gave up at least half a dozen rebounds off of pucks that went into his glove, which is just bizarre. But I mean, his rebound control is one of the reasons why he's nicknamed Moonshine to begin with. He was off on his angle on the Curran goal too, because he read Curran as passing. Curran does a very good job of putting the puck in his hip pocket, keeping the defender at bay. Stewart buys the idea that Curran is going to pass it, commits, and by the time he realizes he's wrong, Curran's changed the angle to release, takes advantage of all the short side space that Moonshine gives him, puts it right over his shoulder. Dostal was keeping the Gulls afloat in what was a very one-sided first period, though. The Condors, I want to say the shot differential in the first period, something like 20-6, 20-7.
Oh,
it was, wow. And like those weren't all super high danger chances. It was like you saw the totals, and as much as I've given grief in this episode enough to shot counting totals, rewatching the period, it's like, no, this was a one-sided, one way kind of period. The Gulls just, they couldn't get any meaningful possession in the offensive zone. They weren't winning battles along the wall, trying to retrieve dump-ins, and they're very lucky that Dostal was on his game, or this easily could have been 3-0 at the end of, or 3-1 at the end of the first period. They skated better in this game, though. A bad turnover at the offensive blue line for the Gulls has a 3-on-1 coming the other way, and Bryce Kindop hustles his ass off to take a passing lane from Cooper Marody away. Yanis Yaks does the same thing, although he didn't have quite the speed to catch up in time, but like both of them chase down that 3-on-1 to try and neutralize it even a little bit, which is an effort the Gulls needed to see earlier in the weekend and earlier in the week, but better late than never. Overall, I thought the Condors were kind of the better team in this game, but not definitively so. Like, they crushed the first period, but the Gulls made comeback statements to kind of balance the ledger at least a little bit. But Dostal absolutely outplays Moonshine here. In a one-game sample, that counts for a whole lot. I will say both special teams in this game was bad. That was the other thing too that I don't think we've talked about that much this season is Bakersfield's power play has been very not great.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we've given that enough attention. So when we start kind of drilling down in the Pacific Division, we may go into breaking that down a little bit. But would you believe me if I told you Ryan McLeod had 0 power play goals this year?
I would not.
It's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So it's kind of like the exact opposite of the Iowa Wild last year. Like the Iowa Wild generated so much of their offense on the power play. And it's the exact opposite for Bakersfield, that they're generating all these chances from even strength, or at least pretty much all of them.
Yeah, but it's just surprising to see that level of talent. Like I feel like I haven't focused enough on their power plays, just to see like strategically if this is just we're doing silly things like Hershey does, or like Rockford does, or
Sure.
Like something like that. If it's a tactical thing, although I will say I did notice the tactics in this game for both sides of the special teams I thought were awful, but I'm not sure if that was just a weird fluky one game thing, or if no, this is really what they're trying to do. Which, okay. You guys can do whatever you want, but that seems silly. But yeah, Saturday's game, Bakersfield got goalied. Tostel played way better.
And with all that said about, goaltending, and you covered a lot of bases there, special teams, goaltending, and everything. Any closing thoughts for the weekend for the San Diego Gulls? And just any final thoughts on that?
I'm still concerned about San Diego going forward. And as I understand, the season has been this long and awful cannonball run of endurance, but the the Gulls look a level aghast, and they're running out of guys to put in the lineup. And that makes me think that unless the Ducks send the cavalry down, which I don't know what the appetite is going to be for that. Because again, guys in the postseason don't get paid. And in some cases, they've already played a long and just brutal season and would rather just kind of get the off season started. They have that margarita mixer as their Twitter picture already saved on the desktop. They're just waiting for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Zegras and Drysdale, and I believe Sam Steele and those like Max Jones also have like waiver exempt. So in theory, Anaheim could send them to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I keep telling myself I won't do this, I don't think they do. I don't think that they're going to make that. They're going to pull that trigger. Just because I don't think the players want to. And Anaheim's probably like, all right, what are we going to get from 4 more games? But then I'm pretty sure Anaheim also was like, hey, postseason tournament. But I think this postseason tournament without the cavalry from Anaheim could end very abruptly for San Diego, just because the last 4 or 5 games, they've really just looked like they're running on fumes. And they have some talent there that has helped keep the ship afloat. But they've also gotten some good breaks. Dostal playing, out of his mind, very good break for a game they should have lost, or probably lost anyway. Previous to the weekend, them just getting housed. That's concerning for me. And I think I would be picking them to be a quick exit here from this tournament broadly, but we'll see how the matchups play out in their favor and if they get guys back.
Yeah. And currently they're sitting 3rd in the Pacific Division. So they are qualified for one of those buys. John Hoven from Mayor's Manor was correct. Like he got the inside scoop on April 29th, a whole week plus before the official announcement for the AHL Pacific Division postseason was announced. So you have the top 3 seeds, the top 3 teams in the Pacific Division earning a bye. And then you have 4 through 7 playing in for that 4 seed, playing a little mini tournament for that 4 seed. So currently San Diego sits 3rd, and their last series is against the Colorado Eagles, a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday set. So if you're going to get right, you're going to get it right against a team who's only won 1 game of their last 5. And they had to put up a 7 spot to do it. They allowed 5 goals, so they had to put up 7 to get the victory over Ontario. The Colorado Eagles did on May 9th. So May 12th, 14th, and 15th, San Diego going to Loveland, Colorado to face the Dukes of Loveland themselves, the Eagles. And then you've got, this is juicy. I mean, obviously they both have a bye, but you've got 1 versus 2. Bakersfield heading to Henderson to close out that series, to close out the regular season on May 13th, 15th, and 16th, number 1 versus number 2. And so that'll be exciting. And then you've got Ontario at Tucson for just 2 games, May 14th and 16th. And then you've got San Jose. San Jose's last game is, as we air this, May 11th against Henderson. That's their last game of the season. Everyone else is accounted for, but San Jose's last game of the season is against the Silver Knights. They head to Nevada to play them. So San Jose getting that 3 over San Diego, unless San Diego just shits the bed against Colorado and loses all those games. San Jose, they would have to win and get some help in order to get that 3 seed. But yeah, everything is up for grabs. I mean, it's not like the North Division. It's not like the Central Division that we talked about where we're conjecturing who's going to get first place. We have a postseason in this division. So everything's up for grabs. Maybe, like I said, San Diego kind of has to, fall apart at the end, which they kind of are, but so is Colorado a little bit. So maybe a little battle of attrition there in regards to, losing streaks, but we'll see how this works out. We'll see where we're standing, and we'll kind of give a little more of a preview once we've got, things more set in stone for sure. But last but not least, go ahead. Sorry, you got something.
No, I was just going to say, we're going to see this wild tournament, whether we should be or not, we're going to talk about it. We're going to preview it. But I think that's a good place for us to, get headed to break and do cream of the crop. But if this is your jumping off point as a listener, we appreciate you stopping by. We hope you enjoyed our conversation here about the Pacific Division at large, but specifically San Diego and the Bakersfield and Ontario games. But if you're heading out here, you've heard what you came to listen to. Please check us out on social media. Subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us or watching us on. Leave us a comment, maybe a review, hopefully a good one. If you're going to give us a crappy review, at least make it funny. Give me a good joke in there. But you should check us out on social media. We have a pretty good time. We post some memes, take some pot shots at other teams, that kind of thing. So if you've been enjoying the show, I think you'll enjoy us there too. But we're going to head to break. You should stick around. We're going to recap the best players of the weekend in our cream of the crop segment. And then I have a little quiz for CC. So stay tuned. Listen to some ads while I pay for this ridiculous trip to my alma mater.
Oh, yeah, it's time for the cream of the crop. We're just going to start. We're going to feel the madness right off the bat. I need Miss Elizabeth here. Hulk Hogan, you got lust in your eyes, brother. I can see you looking at Miss Elizabeth. Oh, I'm reaching the boiling point. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted. It's time for the cream of the crop. Oh, yeah, the best AHL players of the week and the weekend, I should say. Graded by Sean and myself. Oh, yeah, it's time to snap into it like we would a Slim Jim. Feel it, yeah!
My first cream of the crop of the weekend is Alex Limoges, San Diego Gulls. 3 goals, no assists, 1 Penn State degree in supply chain management, all while having 0 cups of coffee.
Wow.
So that's quite an achievement. And as a member of the Penn State Alumni Network, welcome, Alex, to the club. Really glad to see you end up with a degree. And congratulations for that. On a weekend that you earn, 3 goals and a degree with no coffee whatsoever to speak of, which is crazy to me. Congrats. That's cream of the crop worthy. So here you are.
Absolutely. Wow. No cups of coffee. That is super, super impressive.
Now, let me tell you a little something about a cup of coffee. Yeah, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat looking for a cup of coffee in the big time. WrestleMania 3. Oh, yeah. I'm going to get him for the Intercontinental Championship. Oh, I'm going back in time. I need to get back centered here in the present. We're going to talk about Hunter Jones. Oh, yeah. Struggling all year long for the Iowa Wild. But this weekend against the Rockford Ice Hogs, get it right, Hunter. Oh, yeah, he did. He got 61 saves on 62 shots, .984 save percentage. Oh, yeah. 2 victories, one of them being a shutout, his second of his professional career. The rookie for the Iowa Wild, goaltender Hunter Jones. Heart of the Lonely Hunter. Oh, yeah.
My second cream of the crop for this weekend is Phoenix Copley, Hershey Bears, 34 save shutout plus an assist. So he also earns his 100th career AHL victory as a goaltender. So that's a pretty big accomplishment, plus an assist. Anytime goaltenders get an assist and play well in that game, you're going to be in this conversation. So Phoenix Copley, cream of the crop.
All right, yeah, Phoenix Copley. Gotta love it, gotta love it. Well, hey, my next person plays for the Ontario Reign, but it's not gonna be Alex Turcotte. No, he was named AHL Player of the Week after his first career hat trick. And you also had Asimont. Asimont, he got a hat trick for the Reign too. But no, I'm talking about Adam Johnson. Yeah, straight to the top. 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. He had a hat trick for the Reign in their 7-4 victory over the San Diego Gulls. I'm on my way, says Adam Johnson. 8 points in his last 4 games. He's heating up right as the Reign are looking at the postseason. Everybody's in play. Everybody's in play. You got to watch out for everybody. They're coming at you. I may be a little paranoid. I may be a little out there, but Adam Johnson, my second cream of the crop for the weekend. Ooh, yeah.
For me, the third and final cream of the crop for me is the aforementioned Alex Turcotte. 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, all primary points. Doesn't get any better than that for me. 5 primary points on a weekend. That's cream of the crop for me. Alex Turcotte, well deserved.
I can dig it, man. I can dig it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dig it. Riley Barber, that's my third and final cream of the crop. 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 total points. Let me tell you, he scored the opening goal for Grand Rapids to tie the game at 1. And then, like we mentioned earlier, scoring the game winner with 13 seconds left in the game. Grand Rapids helping them set the tone, sweeping the weekend against the division-leading Chicago Wolves. On balance, off balance, doesn't matter. Riley Barber gonna stick it to you. Yeah! Feel the madness in his gloves as he snipes that goal. Ooh, yeah! Riley Barber, my third and final cream of the crop. Can you dig it? Yeah!
I have no idea how your throat has any capacity left after that. I just assume it's like you have to go gargle with honey after the show is over.
Oh, it's a little hoarse after the fact, but I mean, I've been doing Macho Man for years, so
it's something that comes natural when you feel the madness. You get it in your brain, amigo. Oh, yeah. Feel it. Yeah.
All right. Well, it is time for the last segment we have here.
correct.
And that is our quiz. One of my favorite portions of our completely made up show.
Yep.
And given that we had a rebranding, a reboot, we've had some affiliation swaps, we've had some teams moving. Normally we have a quiz that we go to called the Affiliation Shuffle, but that doesn't really grasp kind of the silliness that happened today on the island of Connecticut. So this quiz is called Rebooting the Sequel.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a team, and then I'm going to give you 3 options, and you have to pick which was the previous incarnate of this current AHL team amongst those three names.
Okay.
Should be pretty straightforward. So let's get it going. First up is the Rockford Ice Hogs. Were they previously the Cleveland Barons, B, the Baltimore Bandits, or C, the Springfield Falcons?
Wow. I'm gonna say the Cleveland Barons. Final answer.
Oh, sorry. The answer we were looking for was B, Baltimore Bandits. They were the predecessor of the Rockford Ice Hogs.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. 0 for 1. That's fine. And there's only 3 of these?
5.
Oh, there's 5. Okay. I have to get 3 of 5. Okay.
Yep.
That's okay. I've had bad starts before and come back. Let's keep it going.
Second up, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. were they previously the Cornwall Aces, the Adirondack Red Wings, or the Moncton Hawks?
I'm going to say it's either Cornwall or Moncton. I'm going to say Cornwall Aces. Final answer.
That is correct. CC on the board.
There we go. Getting it right. That was my get right question. There we go.
There we go. All right. Third up here, the Iowa Wild. Were they A, the Norfolk Admirals, B, the Peoria Rivermen, or C, the Houston Aeros?
Houston Aeros. Final answer.
Ooh, right away. That is correct. That is correct. They were the Houston Aeros. All right. Question 4. You need one of these last two for a W. The Syracuse Crunch. Were they the Hamilton Canucks, the Maine Mariners, or the Baltimore Skipjacks in a previous life?
Oh, goodness. Wow. This is a tough one. So you said it was the Maine Mariners, Baltimore Skipjacks, and what else?
It was A, the Hamilton Canucks, B, the Maine Mariners, or C, the Baltimore Skipjacks?
C, Baltimore Skipjacks. Final answer.
Oh, CC, I'm sorry. We were looking for the Hamilton Canucks.
Oh, okay.
We're coming down to the wire here.
Yes, we are.
Your last one is the Stockton Heat. Were they previously the Cape Breton Oilers, the Newmarket Saints, or the Utica Devils?
Goodness, you made this tough, didn't you?
I did tell you these were going to start getting harder after you've been kicking the crap out of me every week.
So Newmarket,
A, Cape Breton Oilers,
Cape Breton.
B, Newmarket Saints, or C, the Utica Devils?
Cape Breton Oilers. Final answer.
Finally, I got one.
Wow.
That is incorrect, CC. The answer we were looking for is the Utica Devils.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked by that too.
And the thing you did was you tricked me. It wasn't the one that was right before it, but down the line in the franchise. Yeah, that's where you got me, you tricky bugger. You tricky man. Well, I admit defeat because I've been defeated. So, Sean, let me introduce you to your FaceTime, the completely arbitrary 30 seconds that you have to speak about whichever topic you would like. You have the floor, my good man.
I finally finished the Snyder Cut this weekend, and while I feel like I could write a dissertation on why movie is dumb, I just want to point out one thing that I cannot possibly understand why this keeps becoming a theme of these terrible Zack Snyder DC movies. Movie is over at the point in which Steppenwolf dies, they save the mother, like everything is, Earth is okay. And the movie goes on for like 30 more minutes, including this insane Batman dream sequence that makes no sense, has the Joker in it and Mira, and apparently Superman's evil again. And then like he just wakes up. And there were a couple of these in Batman v Superman of like goofy Bruce Wayne Batman dream sequences where like he's a commando in the desert. And given how many moments in this movie and throughout Zack Snyder's DC Universe movies where they've like pulled strings that ended up going nowhere, I really feel that this isn't some elaborate setup and it's just something incredibly stupid that a 4.5 hour movie had time for. Like the movie was over half an hour ago and just dragged on to introduce a new character that randomly showed up that made no sense, or to have a Batman dream sequence, or to do, oh, Jesus, movie, just end. It's 4.5 hours. If you haven't seen it already, and you aren't like one of the people who, you know, lobbied Congress to allow this to happen, it's not worth your time. Is it better than the Joss Whedon cut? Yes, it is. Is it a good movie? Objectively, no. And people who tell you otherwise are crazy.
I will say this. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, they were right on that fan service when people demanded, when they saw Helmet Zemo, Baron Zemo, rather, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, in his little dance scene in the club, they wanted the extended dance cut of that episode because Marvel had told them about it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we've got an hour-long version with the extended dance club scene of Zemo getting his boogie on. I have not seen it, but I would love to have. But Marvel is just like, fan service, boom, where DC drug its ass all the way through for the Snyder Cut. And then, yeah, it's filled with, it's not all killer, no filler. There's definitely some filler.
There's a lot of filler. And I think the one thing that I don't understand about their decision-making is that, like, they're very clearly trying to make up for lost time with the MCU. Like, the MCU didn't have the Avengers until literally all of the main characters in that movie had their own movie, except for Black Widow and Hawkeye. Hawkeye was the only one who got introduced in that. Black Widow had been in other people's movies, so you had a sense of who she was. She didn't need her own movie, and I would still argue maybe doesn't. She's
getting it, though. And so
she is
Hawkeye. Yeah.
But I think, Hawkeye's getting his own?
He is.
Oh, that's dumb. But
he just finished rapping. That's it for him.
I think they're good with being, characters in other people's movies and not able to hold their own, but we'll find out. But like everyone else had their own movie already, were established characters, whereas Batman v Superman is introducing new characters that have to be explained, but they're doing like 10 of them. Dawn of Justice, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, introduced 2 main characters to the core group in a 4-hour movie, and those characters really still need more, but like I don't feel like I know much about them from that perspective. And if I'm not a huge DC nerd, I'm like, oh, who's Martian Manhunter and why is he impersonating Martha?
And then
who is this
as well, right?
Yeah, Cyborg's in it as well, and he's somewhat well explained, but like it's just 8 pounds of context and narration and explanation in a 5-pound bag, and I don't understand why they keep choosing to make the movie that way. Like, you could have spaced this out once you realized you had a colossal failure. Instead, you're just like, double down failure.
Oh, God. I was mistaken. Hawkeye's actually a TV series. It was kind of like a mini TV series that they did for WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, that kind of thing. And Loki coming up in June. So they just finished wrapping in April 2021. And Sean, I apologize. You had the floor, and I just wanted to have a little discussion.
I was done. Okay. Then you dragged me back in.
I was finished, and then you had to come and pull me right back in. Oh,
sorry. My mistake. But hey, that'll do it for episode number 36 of the Calder Farmstead. If you guys are enjoying the show, please make sure to subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, please rate and review the podcast wherever you are listening to it from, or if you're watching on YouTube, like I mentioned earlier, like the video, comment, subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. So any feedback, we appreciate it. Constructive, of course. Don't just be a troll. You can also follow the show on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter, at The Calder Farmstead on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all of that and more can be found in our link tree, which is scrolling at the bottom for our viewers on YouTube. But if you're listening on audio, it's linktr.ee/The Calder Farmstead.
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SeanObrien81. I'm also on an ever-improving Instagram that is no longer stagnant, but actually posts pictures, one of which was my very adorable dog and the best picture I will ever take of her. So you might want to go check that out. You can find that at Sean O'Brien_81 on Instagram. Both are personal accounts, and I comment mostly on hockey, but also on stupid things in pop culture and more random musings. But if you're interested in the point shares model that we didn't talk about too much today, but that I have been rather lazy about, you can find that at bit.ly/datadump-and-chase. A lot of good information there. Give you a bigger sense of who's good in the league and who's not from a 2,000-foot view, as well as who we've been projecting to be the division leaders the entire way through, and how much that's kind of waxed and waned with rosters and stuff like that. Very fun look. But you can find all of that at bit.ly/datadump-and-chase, all lowercase, all one word. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. Cece, where can people find you?
Well, my name is CC Hockley, and you can find me representing Full Press Hockey on Twitter at FPC_AHL and at my personal Twitter account at CCHawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. The majority of my tweets are, of course, hockey related, but I like pro wrestling, so I comment on that every now and again. Music, I'm a big fan of the rock band Rush, so, comment on some of that stuff. And I just retweeted a post because this past weekend I helped my friend Micah Turner write a song. I contributed the bass guitar and the lyrics, and I actually sang as well. So if you want to dig through my tweets and find that creative every day, he calls it. We did it all in one evening. He overthinks things. So he wanted to just boom, get it done and do an art piece or a music piece every day, once a day. So good for him. He's getting those creative juices flowing. So anyway, the Calder Farmstead is part of the Full Press Radio Network. So you can find this program and a lot of other great hockey podcasts at www.fullpresscoverage.com. You can also find a whole ton of other sports shows and sports entertainment programs there. Click on that drop-down menu, podcast, and you got a whole list there. So check out my writing on the Full Press Coverage Network at www.fullpresshockey.com. I'm still working on that feature piece that I had almost a month ago now back in Indy. It's been busy in my personal life and with the Calder Farmstead and other endeavors here, so I'll get that article done sooner rather than later. Shawnee, take us home.
For CZ Hockley, I'm Sean O'Brien. Thank you guys for tuning in, and please dump and chase responsibly.